June 1st, June 14th New Style. The memory of our venerable father Dionysius, abbot of GLUSHITSA, a new wonder-worker. Our venerable father Dionysius first labored near the lake called the Great Kubinsky, located 14 versts to the east of the city of Vologda. Later, he left this place and, accompanied by a monk named Pachomius, began to travel to many places in the vicinity of the mentioned lake, seeking a place where he could dedicate himself to serving God in seclusion. The venerable Dionysius and Pachomius arrived at the village called GLUSHITSA, where they first built a cell for themselves, and soon after constructed a church in the name of St. Nicholas, where they consecrated with the blessing of Bishop Gregory of Rostov. After this, monks began to gather around them to live with them and strive for the salvation of their souls. Establishing a monastery at the designated location, Venerable Dionysius organized a community there, and after receiving the priesthood, began to offer sacrifices to the Lord in purity. Soon after, Venerable Dionysius appointed his disciple, the aforementioned Pachomius, as the abbot of the monastery he had established, and after blessing the brotherhood, he himself withdrew from the monastery to the river GLUSHITSA, 15 versts away, and stayed there overnight. In a light sleep, he heard what seemed to be a voice coming from this desolate place calling him. He immediately woke up, felt great joy, and offering a prayer, erected a cross on the spot which he had brought with him. Then, under a certain tree, which still grows inside the monastery to this day, bearing blackberries, and is called bird cherry, he built himself a small cell. The man suffering from toothache ate a berry from this tree with faith and immediately felt healthy. After this, Venerable Dionysius devoted himself to strict abstinence, vigil, fasting, and prayer at this place, and after some time, one after another, monks began to come to him at this place, so that the number of his disciples began to multiply. Seeing this, the Venerable Dionysius built a church in the name of the Most Holy Theotokos, in honor of her protection, and established a monastery at this place. Several years passed, and the number of monks increased to the point that the space in the church became insufficient for them, and they began to ask St. Dionysius to build another, larger church for them. Fulfilling the request of the brotherhood, the Venerable One built a new church significantly larger than the first, adorned it with miraculous icons, provided it with books, and diligently taught the brotherhood, instructing them in what would bring them spiritual benefit. Once when the Venerable One was about to go to church for a service, a multitude of demons attacked him. Gnashing their teeth, they began to beat him, and then, having lifted the floor, laid him there and said to him, "Leave this place, otherwise you will die an evil death." But the Venerable One, through prayer, overcame their weak power, and they immediately disappeared. Meanwhile the brethren, not seeing the saint, came to his cell, and finding him pressed down by the floor, lifted it, after which he said to them, "See, brethren, what struggle our enemies are waging against us, but let this not intimidate us." After this, the Venerable Dionysius secretly left the monastery and came to a desolate place, located 4 versts to the south of the large monastery, on the bank of the same river GLUSHITSA, called Sosnovitz. Here he built a church in the name of St. John the Baptist, erected cells, and relocated some of the brethren from his monastery here. He told them that his body would be buried here, and told them everything necessary to receive their sustenance from the large monastery. At this last place of his struggles, 7 years before his death, the Venerable One dug a grave for himself, so that it would remind him every day of the hour when his body would be laid in it. From that time on, he intensified his ascetic struggles in fasting, prayer, and vigil, and many times stood all night in the frost, thereby toiling his flesh. Having performed numerous miracles by the power of Christ, and partaking of the most holy body and blood before his departure, the Venerable Dionysius fell asleep in the Lord. The Venerable Dionysius passed away at the age of 74 on a Sunday, June 1st, 1437. The Moscow Synod, established in 1847 under Metropolitan Macari, included him among the ranks of the saints, and in the 16th century the first church was built in his honor. His relics rest under the altar canopy in the Sosnovitz monastery. In the church in the name of Saints Dionysius and Amphilochius. In the monastery there are 2 icons, one of the protection of the Theotokos, and the other the sign of the Mother of God. both of which, according to tradition, were painted by the Venerable Dionysius. The appearance of the Venerable One was as follows. He was of short stature, his body was very thin, he had a large head, semicircular eyebrows, an elongated face, sunken cheeks, mild eyes, a beard down to his chest, and he had light brown and semi-gray hair.